For the Pledge of Allegiance
Cool.
to the United States flag, and then remain standing for the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. First for the men's players currently visiting Choctawhatchee, number 11, Brittany Morales. Number 14, Dana Matthews. Number 15, Monica Mama. Number 22, Tatiana Rosero. Number 23, Tashara Sanders. And now for the home team, the bench players. For the Blue Devils, number 1, Takira Henderson. Number 2, Kalina Freedy. Number 20, Christina Scott. Number 22, Shatirica O'Neill. And now your starters. First, for the Indians, the point guard, number 12, Brittany Brown. For the Blue Devils, guard, number 12, Lene Barrow. For the Indians, a forward, number 20, Shabbat Small. For the Blue Devils, a guard, number 14, Shatrice Solomon. For the Indians, a center, number 24, Lauren Day. For the Blue Devils, a guard, number 21, Khadijah Howell. For the Indians, a forward, number 32, Kanicia Matthews. And at guard, for the Indians, number 33, Brittany Lashley.
Today from the Lakeland Center, the site of the FHSAA Girls Basketball Finals. This is a Class 6A state semifinal between the Indians of Choctawhatchee out of Fort Walton Beach. 30-0 on the season against the Blue Devils of Winter Haven. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Rideout along with Dennis Mintal. We welcome you inside the Lakeland Center for today's Class 6A state semifinal. Edgewater and Norland will come next. Winner of this game will play the winner of that game for the 6A championship on Saturday at 1:35 in the afternoon. And Dennis, this should be a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'm looking at Choctaw 30-0, and they had a pretty easy go of it through the regular season. They only had one close game against Bartow, but in the regional tournament, they won by 3, they won by 1, and by 3 in overtime. So they've been tested, and it should be an interesting game against Winter Haven.
Choctaw, visiting team, they control the opening tip. Choctaw in green, as you mentioned, 30-0 on the season. And on the attack first against the Blue Devils of Winter Haven, who come in with a record of 22-8 after a miss. The ball rebounded by Sincaria Mobley. Mobley at the other end along the baseline, shoots in our first basket of the game. So an early lead for Winter Haven. And you mentioned the close games for Choctaw. Let me tell you why they were close games as Winter Haven comes away with it. And we'll also recap the starting lineups for you folks. Choctaw defeated a 21-4 Pensacola team in the opening round of the state playoffs. Pensacola ranked 6th in our rankings according to Source Hoops. 59-56 the final. Then they had to play Pine Forest, ranked 2nd in the state, who was 24-2. Won that one 61-60. And then if that wasn't enough, they had to go on the road to 9th-ranked St. Augustine, which was 25-4, and won that game in overtime, 52-49. So they have been battle-tested for sure.
Right, and I believe they're ready for the Final Four here with those kind of games leading up to it.
After a turnover, the shot rims out left side for Choctaw's Kenesha Matthews. Pass underneath, basket and a foul. Count the basket for Zanika Willix, 5'10" senior.
And Mike, last Saturday I was at the regional final at Sickles when Winter Haven beat Sickles. And Winter Haven is a very strong, physical, go-to-the-basket team. And that's what you just saw right there, and powering into the hoop and getting the three-point play.
So an early 5-0 lead for Winter Haven on top of Choctaw, looking for their first points of the game. We've played almost 2 minutes of this first quarter. Winter Haven had a little bit easier trip to get here as Brittany Brown, who's headed to Florida State, got fouled beyond the arc, so she's going to shoot 3 free throws. What a run Brown has had in the postseason. That last foul called on Mobley. That'll be her first, team first. And here's Brown shooting 3 free throws, and she gets the roll on the first one, and Choctaw's on the scoreboard.
And that's a coach's nightmare when you foul a shooter outside the three-point line.
Brown averaging almost 18 points a game, shoots 69% on the season from the free throw line. And I mentioned the run that she's had in the postseason. She had 39 points, including the game-winning shot in the 61-60 win over Pine Forest in the region semifinals. She got all 3 free throws, but she has yet to score below 22 points in the postseason, averaging 26.8 points during that 5-game stretch, as that ball is saved right here in front of us. So she's a player to keep your eye on today. As I mentioned, Brown has signed to play at Florida State University. 5-3, Winter Haven by 2. Battles. And quickly for Winter Haven, their starters, number 12, Lene Battles, number 14, Chantrice Solomon, number 21, Khadijah Howell, number 23, Sincaria Mobley, and number 32, Zanika Willix. Johnny Lawson in his 5th year as the head coach. Nice move to the hoop, and Lene Battles lays it in. Her first 2 of the game. 3 of the 5 starters have scored for the Blue Devils. And they lead by 4, 7-3.
And that's what I had said earlier. They love to take the ball to the basket and power it up and then just crash the boards.
Well, crashing the boards after the miss by Washington as Shiana Spa lays it in for her first 2 of the game. And it's 7-5. The starters for Choctaw, the Indians, coached by Don Brown in his 7th year. Number 12, Brittany Brown. Number 20, Shavana Spa. Number 22, number 24, Lauren Day. Number 32, Kanisha Matthews. And number 33, Brittany Washington. Foul was called on number 24, Day. That's her first, team second. Try for 3 for the wing. No good by Mobley. And Choctaw comes away with it. We're over 3 minutes into this Class 6A state semifinal from the Lakeland Center. A battle of top 10 teams. Choctaw ranked 3rd in the poll. Winter Haven ranked 7th. It will be a top 5 matchup in the second 6A semifinal. Edgewater ranked number 5. They are the defending state champions. And Norland ranked number 1. Norland, last year's state runners-up. In fact, 3 of the final 4 teams in 6A are back this year. Winter Haven, Edgewater, and Norland. And Choctaw knocked off the team that was here, Pensacola, team that's been here on a regular basis.
Second personal foul on Spa.
Spa just picked up her second foul. 4:27 to play in the opening quarter. And that will put the Blue Devils at the free throw line to shoot 2 shots. And Willix now 2 for 2 from the foul line. 4 points here in the opening quarter. Winter Haven certainly has played some tough teams this year. They lost to Buchholz twice. Buchholz will be in the 7A semifinals. They also lost to Dr. Phillips, which is in the 8A semifinals. Winter Haven, state semifinals, as I mentioned, last year. State runners-up in 2011 and state semifinalist in 2010. Tough shot, but Brown banks it home. Her first field goal of the game. Brown with 5, and the Indians are within 1.
And Mike, the first 4 minutes of this game are a lot different than our games yesterday when there was turnover after turnover. Both these teams seem to be taking care of the ball very, very well.
Brown getting physical up top. Solomon able to stay with it. I like it when the officials let them play a little bit too. After a miss, big offensive board. The follow shot by Mobley, no good, and rebound by the Indians, Brittany Brown. Your officials for today, the referee is May Foley. The umpires, Terrence Kelsey and Kenny Johnson Jr. Traveling is called. Another turnover. Timeout on the floor. Our first media timeout. 3:25 to play in the opening quarter. It's Winter Haven 8, Choctaw 7 here on the FHSAA Network. Checking the scores individually for both teams so far. Brittany Brown has 5. Spa with 2. For Winter Haven, Willix has 4. Mobley has 2. And Battles has 2.
And Mike, in touching on that point that you made about the referees letting them play, I like that to a certain extent too. You know, like on that play right there wasn't any forcing where it caused the player to travel or lose the ball and all that. When there's what they call, the contact isn't it's incidental,
yeah,
and it doesn't cause any difference in the play in the game.
If it doesn't change the possession.
Exactly.
But when I saw a couple of girls get knocked down and the other team came away with the ball and no whistle.
Right. And that's when you see referees letting a game get a little bit out of hand, and then that's when you sometimes see injuries to these young kids. But a play like that one that we just saw where Brown bumped the ball carrier, the ball handler, and they did not call that. I think that's a very good no call.
Taking a look at our early stats as Mobley knocks down a 3 in the corner, her 5th point of the first quarter. Winter Haven now 4 for 9 from the floor, 1 for 2 beyond the arc. And they lead by 4 with a little over 3 minutes to play. Here's Brown on top. The FSU signing comes up a little bit short. Offensive rebound, though, kept alive by Matthews. Choctaw now 2 for 7 shooting from the floor. Brown inside today. Loose ball taken away. Kept. Indians retained possession. Now an open look along the baseline, and Day knocks down the 3. The 6-footer shows her range from the outside. Lauren Day with her first points.
Very nice touch for an inside player.
11-10, Winter Haven by 1. Back-to-back threes on both ends. Mobley with her 7th point, 7 of her team's 13 points here in the opening quarter. Good pace in this first quarter, Dennis.
Very, very good. And both teams are playing very well. This is the kind of basketball you figure you're going to see in the Final Four.
Day launches another 3. Back-to-back trays for senior Lauren Day. Lauren Day coming in, averaging 10 points a game, has tied the game at 13 apiece. Mobley cut off. Now in the hands of Battles. Battles, that's a tough pass, but she was able to get it away. The shot by Willix is no good, and Indians come away with it. Chance for Choctaw to take the lead after trailing early. Winter Haven has led by 5, but Choctaw looking for their first lead of the game, but they throw it away.
That's only their 3rd turnover here in the first quarter, with Winter Haven only having 1. So, like I said, both teams are taking care of the ball very, very well.
I'll tell you another thing I like too, Dennis. We've seen some coaches that have been laid back in their dress attire, but you look over at Johnny Lawson on the Winter Haven bench. He's in a suit, and Don Brown for Choctaw is dressed up in a nice tie, slacks and a tie. Like to see that from coaches.
Yes, yes.
Foul called as Battles made her way down the lane.
Yeah, there's a time to look be comfortable and a time to look professional, and I think when you make it to the Final Four, both coaches look very, very professional and ready for this matchup.
Yeah, I think it carries over into the players. You know, if they see their coach dressed up, they might take it a little bit more serious. Not that they don't take it serious to begin with, because it is a Final Four game. That last foul was called on Brittany Brown. That's her first. Lene Battles at the foul line. She hits 1 of 2, rebounded by Washington. One-point lead for Winter Haven, so again a chance for Choctaw to take their first lead of the game. Loose ball taken right back by the Indians. The floater no good by Washington, and Willix comes away with it for the Blue Devils. Blue Devils 22-8 on the year. Choctaw, the Indians 30-0. Class 6A state semifinal from the Lakeland Center. As we wind down this first quarter, under 30 seconds to play. Battles, nice move. Battles lays it in for her 5th point in the quarter. So Battles with 5, Mobley with 7, Willix with 4. Here's Brown up top for a 2. And Brittany Brown with 7.
This is the first time I've seen her, and boy, does she have a picture-perfect jump shot.
She does.
She releases it right at the top of her jump.
They won't get a shot off. That's the end of the first quarter here at the Lakeland Center. At the end of 1, it's Winter Haven 16, Choctaw 15. You're watching live coverage of the Class 6A state semifinals here in the FHSAA Girls Basketball Finals on the FHSAA Network. Welcome back to the Lakeland Center. We'll see our score at the end of 1 quarter of play. The second semifinal coming up at 1:30. Dennis will join me for that. It will be Edgewater, defending state champions, against #1 Miami Norland, the state runners-up.
And I think that one's going to be another good one. We're going to have 2 real good games to start off today.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed this year, Mike, as a coach, it seems more and more like these kids, when they're going to the basket, and instead of when they're stopped about 6-8 feet away, and instead of stopping and going up into a very controlled little mid-range jump shot or short jump shot, they're continuing their momentum through and just throwing the ball up on the backboard, and you're seeing a lot of missed, very close shots. And I don't know if that's the pattern of the play of women's basketball today, but I would think that they should really get back to being in control when they get those shorter shots.
Winter Haven looks to add to this 1-point lead. It seems like that those tendencies are when you see teams pressing and in transition.
Right, and that's part of a pressing defense, is you take an offensive team out of their normal comfort zone on the offensive end, and you make them rush, and they're rushing to get the ball past half court.
Battles with a miss.
And that continues onto the front court, and then they're rushing their shots.
Winter Haven was 46.2% shooting in the first quarter. Good hustle. And this is another thing I've seen a lot of, players diving for loose balls. You love to see that. Timeout was called by Choctaw to retain possession. But I love seeing it when the girls and guys, you got to go all out when you get to this point. That's how you get here, too.
Yeah, and I'm sure this isn't the first time you'll see them diving on the floor. I'm sure they've done it all year, because you don't get to 30-0 and get to a Final Four in the state tournament by playing passive.
As I mentioned, Winter Haven was 46.2% shooting in the first quarter, 6 of 13 from the floor, 1 of 2 beyond the arc, 3 of 5 from the foul line. Choctaw was 5 of 11, 45.5%, 2 of 5 beyond the arc, and 3 for 3 from the free throw line. Rebounds were pretty even, 8-7 in favor of Choctaw, and Choctaw had 3 more turnovers, 4-1.
And Mike, I've got to make up for my comments on Tuesday. So far, first quarter, I haven't even noticed the referees. And that's the best kind of referee game, right, when you don't even know they're there.
Here's Day inside. So she has scored outside with a couple of trays and now goes to work inside. 8 first half points for Lauren Day. And there's your first lead of the game for the Indians.
And she's almost to her game average already.
Indians out of Fort Walton Beach, Choctawhatchee.
Yeah, she's averaging 10.1 points a game, so she's stepping up her game here in the Final Four.
Well, Spa just picked up her 3rd foul. As the first free throw is no good by Lydia Battles, who is now 1 for 3 from the foul line. Spa will check out. Savannah, a 6-foot junior, as the second free throw ties the game at 17.
She sure doesn't look 6 foot.
No, and we've seen some players that weren't 6 foot that looked 6'3", 6'4" because of their leaping ability, too. There was a game we did yesterday. No player was over 6 foot tall, but it didn't seem that way at all. Battles gets the rebound. Now in the game for Spa, Tashara Sanders, a 6-foot sophomore. Mobley with a miss and a rebound foul against the Blue Devils.
See, and that's what I was talking about earlier there. There was contact there, and it knocked the girl off of her feet, and that's when you should blow the whistle.
Right.
Okay, because it was going to change the possession.
First foul on Zanika Willick's, second team foul against the Blue Devils. Indians still trying to, well, they've led by 1. Their first lead was late in the quarter. But they haven't been able to stretch it any higher than 1 point. Blue Devils, meanwhile, have led by as many as 5 in the first quarter. Battles as they work it around the perimeter. Indians in a man-to-man defense. Nice. Good shot. Mobley with 9. So she's approaching double figures.
And if you saw on that, she stopped and went straight up for a shot.
Mobley averages 21.7. Willix averages 20. And so far, the pair have combined for 13 points. Winter Haven with a basketball and a 2-point lead. Good defense. Brown deflected away. Here's Brown. Brown in the lane. Misses the layup. However, last touch by the Blue Devils. Brown will throw it in. Brittany Brown with 7 points so far, the FSU signee, who, as I mentioned, has had a really nice run in the postseason. Brown's open. She's going to launch another 3. Good stroke, but she misses the shot. Rebounded by O'Neal.
Seems to be coming up a little bit short on her 3-point shot.
We talked
it just a little.
You know, we've talked about the depth perception here at the Lakeland Center, but I've noticed that there have been several teams that have either worked out in the USF Sun Dome, or in Choctaw's case, they have worked out over at Northwest Florida State, and they worked out at FSU before they got here. Brown a little out of control, got tripped up. Did they call a foul? I think she got bailed out, although she may have gotten tripped by the player.
Well, and talking about that depth perception, you know, it must have gotten out, and people are talking about it more and more. So teams, you know, are preparing for it, and that's what good coaches and good programs do.
Brown misses in the corner. That last foul on Solomon, her first. 2-point lead for Winter Haven with a basketball. 4:16 to play in the opening half. Matchup of 2 of the top 7 teams in the state here in the Class 6A semifinals. They're going to call a foul as Solomon banked it in, and now we'll go to the line for a 3-point play the old school way. Well, I could have seen that go either way because Sanders was moving as the free throw good by Solomon gives her 3, but it didn't affect the play.
No.
She was kind of backing away when the shot was made. How would you have seen that?
Well, you know, it seems that, and again, short, it seems like
Day in double figures now with 10.
When players drive to the basket, there's a tendency more for a referee to call a foul because they're being aggressive and going to the basket. And if you talk about in the NBA, that's automatic almost. A star drives to the basket, they call a foul, whether there's contact or not, if someone just breathes on them. So I agree with you. Like, if there's just a little bit of contact that doesn't affect the shot, I don't think they should call it.
Day with a rebound after the miss by O'Neal. Brown, her team down 3, goes inside and they draw the foul. Sanders will go to the line and shoot 2 shots. Tashara looking for her first points of the half. Foul called on Shaterika O'Neal, that's her first. 4th team foul against the Blue Devils. Sanders averaging just 1.2 points per game. Shoots just 33% from the foul line. 6-foot sophomore. Chance to make it a 2-point game, but she missed both free throws. Willix with a rebound. Nice move, splitting defenders, and Willix lays it in. Second field goal of the game for Zanika. She has 6. Day quickly to the other end, basket and a foul. Lauren Day with 12 points in the opening half. That's above her average. And she has a chance to make it a 2-point game, and she also draws the second foul on Willix.
And this is something we haven't seen all week yet, Mike, is first quarter statistics. Both teams are shooting over 45% from the field. So again, there's only been 5 turnovers in the first quarter, and they're taking care of the ball and they're taking good shots.
2 minutes, 53 seconds remaining in the first half. You see our score, Winter Haven leading by 2, but a good pace to this one. Here in a matchup of 2 of the top 7 teams in the state as we've reached our second media timeout. Want to remind you that in addition to the 6A semifinals coming up today, our second game at 1:30 between Edgewater and Norland. We also have some championship basketball coming up for you today. 4:35 this afternoon in Class 4A. It will be the Ribault Trojans of Jacksonville, who have won more state titles than any other girls program in Florida. They're seeking their 9th state title. They knocked off defending state champion Dunbar in the semifinals. They will meet Coral Springs Charter in the championship at 4:35 this afternoon.
And in order for them to win that game, they can't have a game like they had against Dunbar, where they had almost 30 turnovers in that game and still won the game. They shot like 21% from the field, had 30 turnovers, but still won.
They trailed most of that game and were able to come back and get the win. Father Lopez will take on Miami Country Day. That's a 1 versus 2 matchup in 3A at 8:05 tonight. So we've got some good basketball here on the FHSAA network.
It looks like we've got a half-court trap here by Choctaw. Try to change the pace of the offensive flow.
Mobley had it stripped. Loose ball taken away by the Indians. And now a chance for Choctaw to tie, or they can take the lead on a long-range shot. Their biggest lead has been 1. Winter Haven's biggest lead has been 5. Good close first half here at the Lakeland Center. Day on the give and go. However, Washington couldn't get the shot to go down. Willix to the baseline. 15-footer, no, and rebounded by Washington. Well, so far, Day, the only player to score for Choctaw, and we played 6 minutes. Here's Brown for 3, and she's come up, had a couple of shots that have been not good shots.
And I think it's Winter Haven's defense that maybe be pushing her about a foot outside of her range, because if you notice where she's taking it, it's a couple of feet outside that 3-point circle.
Howell misses for 3, battles with a rebound. Brown comes away with a loose ball, the steal. Brown goes coast to coast. Layup no good, but she got fouled, and Brittany will go back to the line to shoot 2 shots.
And you can see a little frustration on Brown's face. With her shots not falling, she's starting to pressure a little bit, and she was upset that she didn't make that basket on the foul, too, for the 3-pointer.
Sinkiria Mobley picks up her second foul, so Mobley with 2, Willix for 2. 2 leading scorers for Winter Haven. Brown perfect, 4 for 4 from the foul line. 8 points for the FSU signee. 1:35 left in the half, and a chance now for the Indians to tie the game. Got them both. Looks good on the free throw shots.
Yeah, very, very nice rotation on the ball. And they're in a, it's like a 1-3-1 half-court trap here, Choctaw.
Less than a minute and a half remaining in the first half here in the 6A state semifinals from the Lakeland Center. Mike Rideout along with Dennis Mintal, our producer Nick Minori, our director Tariq Shelton, and our entire Play On Sports crew. We appreciate you tuning in as we approach 1 minute to play in the first half. Brown trying to get it inside today, but throws it away.
I think this is a good thing that Coach Brown's doing on Choctaw is Winter Haven was having their way with them on the offensive end, and they're trying to take them out of their offensive flow and change the course of this game. Now they're back into their normal defense.
So a chance for the Blue Devils to reclaim the lead. Under a minute to play in the first half. Mobley cut off by Brown. Out to Solomon. She'll step inside the arc. That's a 2. And tipped into the hands of Washington for the rebound. Now we'll see if Choctaw plays for the final shot of the half. As they bring it out, run some 4 corners now. Appear to be playing for the final shot. Day, right side, inside the arc, an air ball, rebounded by Battles. 11 seconds left. Mobley, let's see if she takes the final shot to the baseline. Double team, goes inside to O'Neal. O'Neal had it knocked out of her hands with 2.6 seconds to play. So one final look for Winter Haven. Battles to trigger it in. Into O'Neal. Somebody better shoot. Mobley took the shot they didn't want to take. A closely guarded shot. And we'll head to the locker room, all tied at 24 apiece. Winter Haven 22-8. Choctaw 30-0. Indians ranked third in the state. The Blue Devils ranked number 7. We've got ourselves a tie ball game. Anybody's game as we head to the second half, Dennis.
Yep. This might have been the best played half that we've seen all week so far. Both teams shooting the ball well, taking care of the ball. Not a lot of turnovers. And this is the kind of basketball you like to see.
Back in about 9 minutes or so to recap the first half and have the second half for you. Once again, our halftime score. Choctawhatchee 24, Winter Haven 24. 6A semifinals here in the FHSAA network.
One match away from immortality.
This is a total team effort.
We're gonna come at you.
One shot at this.
We can get a player up here.
Oh, that's good stuff.
All right, perfect. Prepare a Wiley Ballard graphic.
Do you want me to start the stream?
Start the stream. Camera 3. Beautiful. We're coming in on 1. For more information on how your school can join the Play on School broadcast program, go to playonsports.com/SBP.
Welcome back to the Lakeland Center as we get ready for the start of the second half. We are all tied at 24 apiece in this Class 6A state semifinal between the Indians of Choctawhatchee out of Fort Walton Beach and the Blue Devils of Winter Haven. Mike Rideout along with Dennis Mintal, 24 apiece. Let's take a look at the numbers from the first half. Winter Haven shot 36% from the floor, 9 of 25, 1 of 4 beyond the arc, and they were 5 of 8 from the free throw line. Choctaw was 8 of 24, 33.3% from the floor, 22.2%, 2 of 9 beyond the arc, and 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Rebounds were fairly even. Choctaw had 18, Winter Haven had 16. Turnovers, Indians had 7, Blue Devils had 4. Anything else that jumps out to you, Dennis?
Well, I think the big thing is I think Winter Haven's a little bit lucky because Brittany Brown is 2 for 11 from the field and 0 for 7 behind the arc. And for the score being tied and her shooting that poorly, if she even has a normal or a little bit below normal game in the second half, Winter Haven could be in trouble. But then again, that could be because of Winter Haven's defense. They're pushing her out a little bit further out of her range, and that's why she's coming up short on some of her shots. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens in that case in the second half.
So 13 for Lauren Day to lead all scores, 5 of 6 shooting from the floor, and how about 2 of 2 beyond the arc? The big girl stepping outside and knocking down a couple of threes. Day.
Every center in the world is smiling right now.
That ball knocked out of bounds by Winter Haven. Actually, the Indians trying to take their largest lead of the game. Their biggest lead in the first half was a 1-point lead. However, Blue Devils come away with it down the lane. And a basket for Mobley puts her in double figures. So 11 points for Syncaria Mobley. Follow-away shot by Brown. Rebounded by Willix. Willix 1-on-2. And I think that's the point that you were making about girls just coming up and down the floor and being in a rush to put a shot up. That time she didn't have numbers. As Day draws the foul here, if you don't have numbers, you should back it out.
For the most part, I agree with that. But I've also taught my players we'll work for 15 or 20 seconds on the offensive end trying to get a wide open jump shot. So if I've got a girl who can make a wide open jump shot and she comes down 1-on-3, but she's open, I tell her to shoot
Take the shot, okay. Day at the foul line. By the way, that's the 3rd foul on Willix as Day rattles in her 14th point. So Day above her average of 10 a game. And it's a 1-point lead for Winter Haven.
And the Indians are back in their 1-3-1 half-court trap.
Nice move.
And Winter Haven beat it easily.
Willix beat Day and laid it in. 8 points for Zanika Willix. Brown quickly the other way. Brown off the glass, misses the shot, followed no good by Sanders.
That's a double dribble.
They did call it. You were right, Coach.
Just the reflex. Like I sit on the bench, I do that all the time, and referees usually don't like that.
28-25. Indians with a basketball. They trail by 3. A 3 in the corner by Washington, kept alive by Matthews. Now here's Brown knocking down the tray. She's in double figures, and we're all tied again.
I had the perfect angle on that shot, and that you can tell on her release that one was going in. Maybe that'll get her off the schneid here.
Day blocks the shot of Solomon. An opportunity for Choctaw to take its biggest lead of the game. Brown again for 3, filling it in and out. Kept alive, though, by Sanders. Deep 3 from up top. How about that?
That was an NBA 3.
Brittany Washington's first points of the game. The 5'6" junior has given Choctaw its largest lead of the game. Howell with a miss. Choctaw trying to chase it down the corner, but it will remain with the Blue Devils. By the way, those of you who are wondering, Dennis Mintal, a coach for Tarpon Springs East Lake High School. How'd you guys do this year?
Well, we got hit with the injury bug this year. Last year we made it to the Sweet 16, and we lost our center and a backup center, and we went about 500, but it was a tough year.
And that was a tough shot. Todd Brown visibly upset for Choctaw. But they didn't count the basket.
No, they didn't.
So a foul on the floor wipes out the basket. Foul was on Matthews, her first. Here's Solomon for three. Tough rebound inside. O'Neal draws the foul. And Chaterica will shoot 2 shots. She's looking for her first points today. Second foul on Sanders. O'Neal, as I mentioned, looking for her first point of the game. Can't get the free throw to go down. O'Neal shoots 51% on the year. The sophomore averages 4.5 a game. But she gets 1 of 2 for her first point. 2-point lead for Winter Haven, or excuse me, for Choctaw. Ball stolen away, a chance for the Blue Devils to tie. Mobley with the right hand. Last touch by O'Neal. Choctaw basketball.
And Winter Haven's picking up the pressure. They're playing man for man full court now, trying to force the issue.
Choctaw has 18 wins or more, 6 years in a row. They're 30-0 this year. Brown makes her way in the lane and draws another foul. This will be on Howell, her first. Brown in the act of shooting, so she'll get 2 shots. Second team foul against the Blue Devils. Brown today, 5 for 5. That's 13 now for Brown. And she bounces that one in. So she's on her way to her average in the postseason. She has averaged 26.8 points during a 5-game playoff run. And it's the largest lead of the game for Choctaw, a 4-point lead. Day going to get called for that foul. That'll be her second.
Again, that's another coach's nightmare there, where you see a player come flying across the lane out of control, and one of your players fouls her when she has absolutely no chance of making the basket.
7 now for Lene Battles. Battles 3 for 5 from the foul line today. She averages 4.2 a game, so she's already over her average. Battles, though, shoots just 39% from the line. We're going to have a jump ball, possession arrow. It will remain with Winter Haven.
That's the other thing that shows you it's a well-played game, Mike. You haven't seen many tie-ups and jump balls.
Well, I tell you, that Rebalt Dunbar game, I think the most jump balls I've ever seen in a game. May have been the most turnovers I've ever seen in a game.
Yeah, that was. There was like, what, 63, I believe.
Over 60 turnovers, yes. Indians trailed first quarter by 5. Right now they lead by 3. 4:32 to play in the third quarter. Brown. Day, though, with a big offensive rebound. Lauren's shot wouldn't go down. Winter Haven comes away with it. Mobley. will back it out. Picked up by Brown. That's a good matchup there. Brown and Mobley.
Yep.
Howell calls for help, able to get it to Mobley. She got past Brown in a hurry, though. And it's kept alive by the Blue Devils. Under 4 minutes to play in the third quarter. Solomon cut off by Day.
It's very unusual to see your two leading scorers
Howell
guarding each other.
misses with a three. That was good defense that time by Choctaw.
I think this is the perfect time for immediate timeout because both teams look a little bit spent.
There is a timeout. 3:39 to play in the third quarter. A 3-point lead for the Indians of Choctaw. Don't forget, coming up next, our other 6A semifinal between Edgewater and Norland. Norland, the defending state runners-up. Edgewater, the defending state champion. So that means that we'll have a rematch of last year's 6A title game. Welcome back to the Lakeland Center. Just finishing my thought here. The 6A semifinals coming up next. Edgewater and Norland at 1:30. Then we have championship games coming up this afternoon at 4:35 in 4A. Ribault and Coral Springs Charter. There's a steal by Winter Haven. Shot by Solomon, no good. She got it back, and then she got tied up. Jump ball call, possession arrow to the Indians.
Now, I believe that Winter Haven got a timeout.
Oh, they did. Okay. So they saved the possession. 3:31 to play in the third quarter.
We're looking at the statistics up to date here. Brittany Brown is now 3 for 17 from the field. And her team still has a 3-point lead, which I bet if you told Coach Brown that his star was going to go 3 for 17, he figured he'd be down 10 or 12 right now. So,
but he would also probably like his chances if you said Lauren Day is going to have 14 points.
Absolutely. So, and that's what good teams do. When your star is down,
someone has to step up. You're right.
Someone's got to step up, and she did in the first half.
Absolutely. So Winter Haven with the basketball, trailing by 3. Deflected, last touch by the Indians. Battles to trigger it in. 7 points for Battles. Now up top, Solomon will back it out. Blue Devils 22-8. Indians 30-0. The winner will play for the Class 6A state championship. Good defense by Brown, and then she got fouled by Mobley. Third foul on Mobley. So Mobley with 3, Willix with 3.
Mike, that was an interesting matchup there, is watching Day, the center for Choctaw, guarding a guard Solomon out in the top of the key. Very unusual matchup.
Indians look to add to this 3-point lead, which is their largest of the game. Brown driving in, splitting defenders, misses a layup. So she has really struggled from the floor, not only outside, but inside too. But as you mentioned, despite her poor shooting, they're out in front.
Yeah, nothing's coming easy to Brown. The Winter Haven's making it very, very difficult for her. Even when she's going to the basket, they're contesting her enough, but not bodying her where they're getting a foul called.
Matthews went for the steal. Instead, she picks up her second foul. Willix turns it over.
Very good defense by Lauren Day there.
So jump ball was called. Possession error to Choctaw. Indians up by 3 with under 3 to play in the third quarter. Brown, the FSU signee, with 14 points, but she has struggled all day from the floor. There's Washington. Inside to Sanders. The first basket of the game for Tashara Sanders, and it's a 5-point lead for Choctaw. Takara Henderson, number 1 in the game, a 5'6" senior for Winter Haven. Last touched by Choctaw. Substitution as Shaterika O'Neill will check in for Henderson. 2:09 left here in the third quarter. Solomon open, but not taking the shot.
And once again, Lauren Day guarding Solomon all the way out at the top of the key. Not sure about that.
Solomon, tough shot, falling away from the basket. Day with a rebound. Solomon averages 3 points a game. She's got 3 today. Brown to Day. And Day called for traveling. So once again, it's a chance for Winter Haven to close the gap. And traveling call against Solomon.
And Lauren Day's holding her own against Solomon, and maybe that's the strategy because Solomon's not a big-time scorer. They've got Day guarding her to keep her out of foul trouble. Not banging it inside.
Pull-up jumper by Brown, missed badly. Boy, she has really struggled from the floor. Brown now 3 of 19 shooting. Mobley feeds it off to Willicks. Willicks in double figures with 10, and it's a 3-point game with under a minute to play in the third quarter. Brown looking inside for Day. Good defense, denying the pass. Brown cut off on the baseline. She'll step back. Jumper is short again. Good pass from Mobley to Willicks again. Willicks with 6 of her 12 in the third quarter, and Winter Haven within 1. 10 seconds left in the quarter. Day lost it, but it was last touched by the Blue Devils.
And you can see on Brown's face that with every missed shot, she's getting more and more frustrated. She's got to pull herself together and maybe take a step in a little bit.
There's Brown for 3. Comes up short again. And that'll be the end of the third quarter. No basket. We've got ourselves a fourth quarter game. Anyone's game at this point. Choctaw 35, Winter Haven 34 here in the Class 6A state semifinals from the Lakeland Center. Back after this on the FHSAA Network. Mike Rideout along with Dennis Mintal back here at the Lakeland Center. Winter Haven has been to the finals 4 years in a row. Winter Haven had an early lead. They led by 5 in the opening quarter. Only to see Choctaw take the lead at the end of 3. We were tied at 24, and Choctaw outscored Winter Haven 11-10 in the 3rd quarter. The leading scorers for the Indians: Brown with 14, Day with 14, and for Winter Haven, Willicks with 12 and Mobley with 11. So the players that lead their teams respectively in scoring are leading their teams today.
And the big story of the game is Brittany Brown, 3 for 21 from the field.
Yeah, she's really struggled. The ball has had a foul called, yes. It will be on Brittany Brown, her second. Chance for Winter Haven to reclaim the lead. Choctaw's biggest lead has been 4. Winter Haven's biggest lead has been 5. O'Neal to Solomon. Solomon feeds it inside to Willicks, who turns and travels with the basketball.
And that's Winter Haven's 10th turnover. And the Indians also have 10. And as a coach, I usually would shoot for 15 in a game, would tell me I had a pretty good game. So these teams are taking care of the ball very, very well.
Almost lost it.
I almost jinxed them there, Mike. That's normally your job to do that.
Indians with a 1-point lead. 30-0. 30-0 on the season. Have yet to be beaten, even though they had some close games in the postseason. Really got tested playing ranked teams on their way here. And there's a basket inside for Brittany Washington. Washington with 5. And it's a 3-point lead. We talked about Choctaw's path in the postseason, as Willicks will go to the line and shoot 2 shots. Choctaw knocked off Pensacola. Pensacola was a mainstay in the finals for several years. That was in the first round of the playoffs. Matthews just picked up her 3rd foul. Pensacola 21-4 on the year, ranked number 6. Choctaw won that game at home 59-56. Then Choctaw hosted Pine Forest, which was 24-2 and ranked number 2. Won that one by 1, 61-60, as the second free throw by Willicks closes the gap to a 1-point game. And then the 52-49 win at St. Augustine, which was 24-5, or 25-4 rather, and ranked number 9. So they have played, Dennis, close games. You'd have to think that it favors them if this game is close in the end. Here's Dave for 3.
That would be, yeah, if they've experienced the pressure already, and that takes a little bit away from the pressure of playing it in the Final Four.
But don't count out Winter Haven. Mobley knocks down the basket. They've been to the Final Four 4 years in a row. 38-37, Winter Haven. We seesaw the other way. Brown for the lead.
Yep.
Yes, he finally found her range. Brittany Brown knocks down her second 3 of the game. She has 17, and it's a 2-point lead for the Indians. Timeout on the floor here in the 4th quarter.
Big-time players come up big in big-time games.
4 for 22 for the 4 today, so and in the end, that won't matter. What matters is the win column.
And the other thing I try to tell kids that are, you know, my good shooters, my good scorers, is if you want to be a very good shooter, you must have a very, very short memory. You can't remember that last missed shot, because if you don't take another one, you're not going to get out of that shooting slump. And it looks like Brown has been coached on that and will continue to shoot the ball. And she had a very nice elevation on that shot, and nothing but the bottom. So maybe she's going to heat up here, and that will help the Indians get to the finals.
And you're right, it's that old cliche, a shooter's got to shoot. Got to keep shooting.
I actually had a girl when I coached up in Ohio that was a very good shooter and missed some and was afraid to shoot and all that. And I basically told her, I said, she was a senior. I says, if you aren't going to shoot, you're going to sit on the bench next to me. So
I bet you started shooting.
Yes, I had to threaten her.
Mobley feeds it off to Solomon. Choctaw on a man-to-man defense. Day. Good defense down low on Willix. Battles. Back to Solomon. They're wanting to get it inside, but good defense right now by Day inside. And the pass thrown away. Not only Day, but also Sanders, who was providing the defense on O'Neal. Indians with a basketball and a 2-point lead.
This will be an interesting trip down the floor. If Brown can get an open look and get another one to go down, she could catch fire.
Willix denied the pass, but they're going to call her for the foul. That's going to be her 4th foul.
That is huge. They can't afford to lose her.
And look for Willix to check out here. Coming in the game is Khadijah Howell, number 21. Washington throws it into Brown. Five minutes, 15 seconds and counting in the 4th and final quarter here in the 6A state semifinals. Coming up next, Orlando Edgewater and Miami Norland. Brown gets free and lays it in. 19 for Brown.
And every time she sees the ball fall through the net, it'll get her more and more confidence as the game goes on.
From the elbow, in and out for Mobley. Rebounded by the Indians.
I was just going to say, Coach Lawson can't keep Willix out for too much longer, and she is now at the bench waiting to come back in. Nice defense.
Solomon
on the line
for 3. It did look like she had a foot on the line. They were going to give her a 3, though. And then timeout called by Coach Johnny Lawson and Winter Haven.
And he doesn't look very happy.
You're right. From our vantage point, we could see her foot was on the line, but the official was going to give her a 3.
Yeah, he was.
4:26 remaining here in Lakeland. 42-38, a 4-point lead for the Choctaw Indians as we take a look at the Choctaw cheerleaders. Fort Walton Beach. Long trip from the Panhandle.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, though, they got a chance, Indians did, to work out at Northwest Florida State College and over at FSU.
And I think that may become commonplace now at as the finals continue to be played in an open arena like this, because my friend who you did the game last night with, Will White, who coaches at Northeast, came here 3 straight years with Boca Ciega, and they were all 3-point shooting players, and they got here and they just could not make shots because of the background here. So I think more teams are going to probably run practices to get accustomed to it, even if it's just for a week.
And that's a great recruiting tool for USF, for FSU, for those colleges to showcase their facilities.
Sure.
Willix against Day. Lost it. Got it back. Howell for 3. Yes, She bounces it in. First basket of the game for the 5'8 senior Khadijah Howell. And it's a 1-point lead. Let's see if they'll count that basket. 42-41 Choctaw. No signal yet.
I don't think so.
Okay.
On the floor.
Mobley is charged with her 4th personal foul.
This foul, though, on Mobley is her 4th. So Mobley with 4, Willix with 4 for Winter Haven. Day back to Brown. Baseline jumper. And off the hands of Matthews, out of bounds. So a chance for Winter Haven to reclaim the lead as we go to our final media timeout with under 4 minutes to play. 42-41 Choctaw. This has been a good one.
Yeah, this has been one of the more evenly played games that we've had this week. It's the kind of game that you and I were talking about that, we like to watch.
Right.
Like to call, like to watch, because it's well played, and you've got good athletes and good basketball players out there performing at the highest level.
Well, coming up later today, after the 6A semifinals, we'll have championship coverage for you. First in Class 4A, the Reebok Trojans of Jacksonville taking on Coral Springs Charter in a matchup of two of the top 3 teams in the state for the 4A title. That's at 4:35 this afternoon. Sharanda Reddick leads the Reebok Trojans, who are also unbeaten. They are now 30-0 on the year, looking for their 9th state title. They've won more tournament games and more state titles than any other team in Florida. Reddick headed to Jacksonville University. And then we'll have a game tonight at 8:05, the 3A title between Father Lopez and Miami Country Day. That's a matchup of the top 2 teams in the state, according to our poll that we use, courtesy of Source Hoops. A chance for Winter Haven to reclaim the lead.
Interesting now, they got Lauren Day guarding Willix, which Willix should be able to spread the floor and let Willix take advantage on Lauren Day, but it doesn't seem like they're going to do that.
Willix. Scoop shot. Got her own rebound. There was contact, but no whistle. Good non-call there because she was backing into the Choctaw player.
See, and again, it's what we talked about this whole game. She made a good move, missed it, got a nice rebound, but rather than getting herself under control, she just forced the ball back up quickly when she should have gotten herself on balance, and she'd had a better shot of making that.
So the Indians with a chance to add to this 1-point lead. A little over 3 minutes to play in the game here at the Lakeland Center. Brown misses the bank. And Winter Haven comes away with it. But a foul called on Day for reaching in. 3rd foul on Lauren Day. And that will be the 7th team foul. So it will be a 1-and-1. And an opportunity for the Blue Devils to shoot themselves ahead.
Blue Devils at the line should be 1-1.
And it will be Solomon, who is 1 for 1 today. 3 points for the 5'7" sophomore, Chantry Solomon. And we're all tied at 42.
And she is only a 50% free throw shooter, but that was a very nice toss.
Choctaw and Winter Haven have both struggled from the floor. And then Day with a foul. And that will put Willix at the line. That's also the 4th foul on Lauren Day. She blocked the shot, but she's called for the foul.
4th personal foul on Lauren Day.
Willix today is 4 for 5 from the line. 14 points for the 5'10" senior. And she puts Winter Haven out in front. Well, it's interesting because Mobley and Willix have 4 fouls apiece for Winter Haven, and Day picking up her 4th foul for Choctaw. We'll see how tentative those ladies are inside. 44-42, Winter Haven by 2.
I think they got to go into Day inside here.
Day banks home 2 more. 16 points for Lauren Day. Good call, Coach. Even with those 4 fouls, she went up aggressively. Tied again. 8th time we've been tied today. Mobley in the lane. Banks home 2 more. 15 for Mobley.
Look, down.
Wide open, Spa almost carried with it. And Spa, who we haven't seen because of the early foul trouble, gets a big basket to tie it at 46.
Very good job by Brown to be looking down the court, and saw her streaking down there, and she got too excited and almost lost it, but got it back under control and tied the game at 46.
You see our time, 2 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in this Class 6A state semifinal. Again, the foul situation. Lauren Day with 4. Kenesha Matthews has 3. Spa has 3 for Choctaw. Willix and Mobley with 4 fouls apiece for the Blue Devils. No other player has more than 1.
And as well as this game's been played, the shooting percentages have dropped off dramatically for both teams, as Choctaw's shooting 31% for the game, and Winter Haven is just under 35. But again, it's been a well-played game. You expect the shooting percentages to be down from the regular season because of the venue. And we got 2:06 to get to the championship game, and it's going to be too bad that one of these two teams is not going to get there.
Battles will throw it in. Indians choose to remain in their half-court defense. No pressure.
Almost looks like Choctaw's in a 1-3-1 right now.
With Brown up top.
That's what it is.
Howell looking inside for Willix. Howell goes inside. Mobley shot, good. 17 for Sincaria Mobley. A 2-point lead for Winter Haven. Brown calling for help. Able to find Washington. Day closely guarded.
Got to post Day down low and put it into her again.
Brown around a pick.
Nope.
Hits the shot and draws the foul. The senior, a chance to give the Indians the lead. 7 of her 21 here in the fourth quarter. Second foul on Chantrice Solomon, the Florida State signee. Now looks to put the Indians ahead with 1:12 to play in the game. And that, Dennis, I didn't want to say anything before she shot it. I didn't want to jinx her. That's her first miss from the foul line today.
But you were thinking it.
I was thinking it. She's 7 for 8 now, and she missed a big one there. And an air ball by Battles. And Coach Lawson looks at her as if to say, what are you doing?
That may have been the most missed shot. That had to miss by 5 feet to the right. Less than a minute.
Less than a minute to go in the game. Less than a minute.
You heard our public address announcer mention it as well. Tom Eaton,
there it is.
Our PA announcer.
Nice.
Day. 18 points for Lauren Day. And Choctaw leads with 43 seconds to play. Well, what do you do here, Dennis? Blue Devils, with no shot clock, can play for the final shot, or do you take the open shot if you get it?
Basically what you do, I'm going to guess that Choctaw's going to be in that 1-3-1. If it's me, the opening on that is the short corner on either side. Whoever's your best shooter from down there, you're going to work the ball around, find to get her open in that short corner, and I try to tie the game. No way that I would hold it for a last-second shot now. You want to get the game tied and force Choctaw to get the ball up against your pressure and make them beat you. because they really don't have, Winter Haven really doesn't have any good three-point shooters that we've seen in the game. They haven't taken a lot of three-point shots. So winning the game isn't an option, I don't believe, unless, you get a lucky three-pointer. But it looks like Choctaw is in the 1-3-1, so they don't have anybody in the short corner, but I'd get somebody down there.
All right, here we go. 35 seconds and counting. Blue Devils down 2. And they throw it away. Stolen away by Spa. 20 seconds left, and Brown is fouled. And that is the 17th foul, so the FSU signee will go to the line for a 1-and-1 with a chance to possibly put Choctaw in the 6A title game. And that is the 5th foul on Mobley. Yep. She fouls out with 17 points. It comes with 20 seconds to play in the game.
Played a very, very good game.
She did.
As you notice, Choctaw has removed their players from the lane because they're in the penalty, and you don't want an over-the-back call to put Winter Haven at the line to tie if there's a miss.
Brown.
Whoa.
Oh, she got the roll.
Shooter's touch.
She sighed. You could see the relief on her face.
Big
when
one here to
down.
make it a 2-possession game.
22 for Brown. And that one may be about as big as the other 22. Because as you mentioned, Coach, it gives Choctaw a 2-possession lead with 20 seconds to play.
And that was Choctaw's last timeout. I was trying to see who was calling that timeout. Winter Haven has 3 left, but with 20 seconds left, they've got to work, try to get the best shot they here right now.
But they don't have to take a 3.
No. And once that ball goes in, they call a timeout to set their defense. They've got enough timeouts to really work this 20 seconds into a longer period of time. But what they need to do is they got to get the ball up the floor, get a good shot, take the ball to the basket. I'm sure that Choctaw's coach has told his kids not to foul. So you take your best player, which is probably Willix now, and have her take the ball to the basket as hard as she can. Choctaw will play very soft, get a layup, call timeout, set your defense, and try to get this game tied.
They'll have to have a sense of urgency here. Battles over to Willix.
And they're in a trap press here, which is a good move to slow them down.
Battles in the corner. Howell for 3.
Timeout.
She hit the shot, but she stepped out of bounds. No basket.
Wow.
And Johnny Lawson is livid. Wow.
Technical foul on the Blue Devils bench.
A technical foul as well. She stepped on the sideline, out of bounds, no basket, and then the technical.
Don't know.
From our vantage point, we couldn't tell.
And now I'm going to show you my age here, Mike, because way back in the 50s with Kentucky, or the 60s it might have been, Kentucky against Kansas, JoJo White did the same thing in an NCAA final game, made a long shot to tie the game, and was called for stepping out of bounds on the sideline. And this is the first time I've seen that since then.
Brittany Brown will shoot the technical. So the Choctaw Indians survive and move on. Now 31-0. Brown adds to her total. 24 today for Brittany Brown.
And here's a little known fact, Mike. I was talking to Ian Naismith, who is James Naismith's grandson.
Actually, excuse me, just a minute, Dennis. The first was the technical. This will be a 1-and-1, I guess, right?
Yes. And then they'll get the ball out of bounds. But he was telling me about his grandfather's book that he wrote about his life, autobiography, and the original dimensions of a basketball floor were 5 feet wider. And that's been my thoughts on, with the players being as big and as fast as they are now, if we widen the floor by 2.5 feet on either side, something like that would not have happened. There would have been more room in the corners to shoot those three-point shots.
Well, I got to tell you got a feel for Winter Haven.
Yes.
We thought we were going to have a 1-point game. And that'll do it. Choctaw wins it 55-48. Winter Haven season comes to an end at 22-9.
And such a well-played basketball game. It's almost like a bad feeling to have it end that way.
Yeah.
Especially after she made such a great shot and just happened to.
And we don't know that even if the shot counts, if they would have still been able to come back, but it would have at least given them hope.
Yes.
Because they would have fouled if they wouldn't have gotten a steal. And who knows if, I would have loved to have seen the ending that way, but it went for naught. So congratulations to Choctaw. As I mentioned, Winter Haven, they've been here 4 years in a row. Their season ends at 22-9. Another good run for Johnny Lawson and his team. Comes up just a little bit short here at the Lakeland Center. Syncaria Mobley had 17 before fouling out. 16 today for Zanika Willix. But for Choctaw, the FSU signee, Brittany Brown, with 26 points. She had 12 of her 26 in the fourth quarter. As you mentioned, big-time players make big-time plays. And how about Lauren Day today? 18 points as well.
Yeah, she was the rock that held Choctaw in the game for 3 quarters until the Star got over either her nervousness or, a little fatigue. I don't know, but Day kept them in it for 3 quarters, and then Brown took over in the fourth, and now you can see why Choctaw is undefeated for the season.
Now 31-0 on the season. So Choctawhatchee will play for the 6A title on Saturday afternoon at 1:35 against the winner of our next game between Edgewater and Norland. Once again, the final score, Choctaw 55, Winter Haven 48. Now speaking for our producer, Nick Minori, for our director, Tariq Shelton, and my broadcast partner, Dennis Mental, I'm Mike Rideout saying so long from the FHSAA Girls Basketball Finals. You've been watching live coverage here on the FHSAA Network.